Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. In this video I want to talk about what it means to have Mercury in the 12th house synastry with somebody else. In this video I want to look at the pros and the cons of having this synastry with someone and the patterns that come with the dynamic of the 12th house Mercury synastry between the two partners. I also want to talk about and look at the effects of this placement on communication and the intellectual connection between the two people, the 12th house person and the Mercury person. This synastry can be one that can be somewhat complicated, and this is because the 12th house is a house that's very mysterious, and so that can lead to some confusion on some things or just a lack of clarity if it's not something that both of the partners are intentionally working to be able to get across when it comes to their communication. The connection is one that's very intuitive, and the 12th house is also one that's very spiritual, so this can also show a spiritual connection and bond between two people. So when it comes to the two partners, the 12th house person and the Mercury person, the Mercury person can almost have an insight into the 12th house person, and the 12th house person may or may not be aware of this, but if the Mercury person has positive intentions, this can be a very positive thing, and it's almost as if the Mercury person is able to kind of see the 12th house person's blind spots, which can be used in a very positive way if the Mercury person has positive intentions in this relationship. The 12th house person may have a bit of a difficult time when it comes to being able to understand the Mercury person and their intentions or their ideas that they have in this relationship between the two of them. And this is because for the 12th house person, this energy is really being experienced in a house that's kind of difficult to be able to see clearly, and it's more so going to make them kind of have a harder time with being able to see and understand the Mercury person. And the Mercury person in this relationship can have a lot of intrigue in the sense that they try to get a lot of questions answered by the 12th house person about their thoughts, about their feelings, and tries to get a better understanding of the 12th house person. They can be very interested or inquisitive of the 12th house person. And honesty and direct, clear communication is especially very important when you have this synastry placement. And that's because it's very easy to kind of misunderstand what's not fully communicated in this synastry placement. And they can have a very spiritual, very deep bond with this synastry placement. But at the same time, there's still that potential for being in a space where they can actually fall into the kind of connection that's kind of deceptive, and that can even be self-imposed, but it can lead to further misunderstandings and more confusion. And so in this placement, for the 12th house person, if the 12th house person kind of feels that sense of being a bit confused or feeling a sense of being lost in the relationship at any time, the 12th house person also asking questions and being able to confirm clarity on situations can actually allow for them to be able to kind of connect in a deeper way, in a way that will be healthy for this relationship in the long run, and also for the 12th house person and the Mercury person to be able to kind of connect from a space of truth that's mutual. And this placement can be one that's very powerful, especially in a very spiritual way. And the Mercury person can take the form of somewhat of a message bringer to the 12th house person. They have an insight into the 12th house person's psyche, and so there is this sense of the Mercury person being kind of like a guide, if the 12th house person is willing to listen to the Mercury person on some things and their insights. And the Mercury person is very interested in the 12th house person, especially when it comes to the 12th house person's mind and the way in which the 12th house person really perceives things. And thinks about things and feels about a lot of things. When it comes to their interactions, it's possible that in the beginning it does not flow as smoothly, and then it starts to kind of build up over time. And with the 12th house and somebody's Mercury coming into your 12th house, they do experience a time in which they kind of may stop talking, or experience a period where they can have an end to contact between the two of them. This may be temporary or short term, but even if they are apart, it's kind of difficult for them to stop thinking about the 12th house person. The 12th house person can also feel this way about the Mercury person, and the Mercury person and the 12th house person have that mental connection. And this synastry can even show them having telepathic kind of communication, and they're able to kind of understand what the other partner is thinking without them having to vocalize it and say it in some situations. And this is because they have that intuitive bond and that spiritual or intuitive connection between the two of them. The 12th house person can make the Mercury person feel like they are able to open up about things like their dreams and their deepest secrets that they would not, comfortably open up and share with just anyone. And this is because the 12th house person has a way of making the Mercury person feel like they won't be judged, and they can kind of trust the 12th house person with information that's as vulnerable as that. And the Mercury person can have a lot of admiration for the 12th house person. They admire their wisdom, their creativity, and they can feel like the 12th house person has a way of being able to say the right things at the right time. And the Mercury person can really value and seek out the 12th house person's advice on a lot of things. And for the Mercury person can find it very difficult to stop thinking about the 12th house person. So with this placement, even if they have a time apart as far as, taking some time out and they don't talk, the 12th house person and the Mercury person may come to find that it's kind of a difficult connection to distract yourself from. And the Mercury person may find that they never stop thinking about the 12th house person, even during those times where they are apart. For both of the partners, this connection can feel like it's one that has this rareness to it. It can feel like it's one that's not easily found with just anyone. And the 12th house person and the Mercury person can feel comfortable with opening up to each other about their dreams, their desires, and even just their fears and their secrets. And so they kind of bond together in that way, and this relationship feels very meaningful. And when it comes to their communication in this partnership, in this relationship, the Mercury person's way of communicating information or even just processing information is going to have a deep impact on the 12th house person. It's going to affect them deeply on a subconscious level to do with their emotions, and they can feel it a lot stronger. Some positive things with this synastry placement between two people is that intuitive connection that they can share, and they are able to kind of be able to almost understand each other without the need for an excess amount of words, and pick up on subtle cues and the meaning behind certain things that other people might miss. Their intuitive connection and bond makes it so that they are able to understand each other on a level that kind of transcends words. And another thing is that they can have this very spiritual connection and understanding, which means that they can have similar interests when it comes to certain topics. They can be very spiritual, but also just as far as the more mystical side of things, they can have a common way of looking at things and just being able to bond over things like that and the esoteric. The relationship can really feel like a safe and supportive environment for being able to kind of open up to each other and share in their innermost feelings and thoughts. So they can have this very deep level of understanding each other and just intimacy in this relationship, which can be very positive in their connection. When it comes to the more challenging or difficult or negative side of things, or the cons, with this synastry, it's very important to be very open and very honest, and almost kind of overshare, over explain, because with this synastry it's very easy to kind of become misunderstood, and the synastry can also bring with it a difficulty in being able to kind of explain oneself. So it's also difficult to be able to explain one's feelings and share that, and it can be kind of difficult for being able to express oneself with this synastry placement. And so it's especially very important to be able to remain open and honest and very direct and clear when it comes to communication, especially with this placement, in order to avoid any kind of communication blocks that can happen with this synastry. And the two partners can kind of be able to have, they dream about each other, they are able to communicate in different ways, and so they can have this really strong connection and communication style, and they can also have this very strong intellectual connection at the same time. So their communication style can also be easy to misinterpret, and so that's why being able to remain open, direct, clear, and very honest in this connection, especially with their communication, is very important. Well, that does it for this video on having your Mercury in your partner's 12th house in synastry. Thank you so much for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, please be sure to give this video a thumbs up, to subscribe to this channel, stay tuned for more videos. That is where I love and leave you. Thank you so much for watching. Bye everyone.